Stoop Stories.
What's up, listeners? On today's episode of Stoop Stories, we're bringing in one of the Southwind greats. So great, in fact, that he's been here longer than anyone else except Josh and Tyler. Welcome Aaron Hosack, 12 years a Southwinder, to today's episode of Stoop Stories. What's up, Aaron?
What's up, LaDrew? How are you?
All is well, sir.
Good.
All is most certainly well.
I love it. I knew you'd say that.
All right, so, we're going to start off by asking a series of questions to help others understand the evolution of Southwind as you've seen it from your perspective, and then also what you believe it takes to be successful not only in life, but in this organization, because we have a lot of leaders in this organization that are striving for things. And truth be told, for our listeners outside of the Southwind umbrella, what it takes to be successful here is what it takes to be successful absolutely anywhere, so they can apply, the information that you share with them today to their specific, situation, no matter where they're at.
I guess we can we talk about Southwind all the time, and I think maybe just for the sake of this conversation, just think about as a business, a fast-growing, company that you've joined in startup phase. He's an OG. We joined early days, so what have you learned along the way? I think would be great, and just as we shape this conversation, just think of it as I want the listeners to think of it as any business, but because it has the name Southwind doesn't mean it's unlike any other business. What I've learned about our organization and businesses in general is they're a lot more similar than they are different. And so if you can be great at what we do here in the home service space, you could probably be great at just about any type of business because it encapsulates so many different aspects of business. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's first start with the man, Aaron Hosack, who's been a part of the organization for 12 years, so you've known him for quite some time, Josh. And when he came into the organization, he was, who he was at that time, and he's evolved into the person he is today. I'll tell you the thing that I admire most about Aaron, and I don't know if you know this about me. I know I've shared it with Aaron, I think. I've copied a lot of the things that he's done in this organization because I've seen the amount of success he's had. And what I've recognized is he is the ultimate teammate, and he focuses on his contribution, nothing more, nothing less. To the extent that he's never in your office asking for raises, he's never asking for what's in it for him. He's focusing on how he can be the best teammate possible and move the needle from his seat in a way that benefits everyone involved. And I've tried to do the same since I've joined the organization. So appreciate that. That's what I admire about you. So my question to you is, through your experience in business, in life, what inspires you to be such a great teammate?
Gosh, I think it's just ultimately I really enjoy being part of a team, first and foremost. Being able, when I started, there weren't many of us in the room. I think there was 10 of us total. I think we had about, 8 junkers, 4 guys at Easy Moves at the time. And we had some carpet cleaners as well. And it was a tight-knit bunch, but it was a team nonetheless. And my background being in sports for so many years before I joined Southwind was very, very team-oriented. I always had to have that structure and that kind of environment to feel like, okay, I'm part of a bigger thing. We're all working towards something bigger, which we do every single day we're here. And I could just know what my role and my responsibility to bring value not only to my role but to the team in that role, how I could do that at a high level. I guess, where did I pick that up on? It was just I've been a part of great teams ever since I was in high school, or ever since Little League, when I want to think about that, right? Little League baseball, like we were always, winning the championship or something like that. So I just knew at an early age, if you take care of your role, you do your job, the team's going to be successful based on that.
Wow. Well, how did you recognize that this team was the right team? Recognizing opportunities is an important skill set that everyone must have. So tell us, where was your interview, and how did you know that this was the team for you?
How I knew that this was
Where
the
was
team.
your interview first?
Where was my interview? So I don't know if you know where it's at now, but it's what they built into the Great Plains SPCA building. That's right off of
Antioch, 5400 Antioch,
yeah, Antioch and 35. Drove in. It was a gated lot at the time. We used to park right inside of the gate, and it was a warehouse. I believe we had one dock door. We had a small little warehouse that was probably no bigger than really Nathan's studio right here, which is pretty big, I guess. But nonetheless, we had an office in there and a little conference room. And I remember at the time walking in there and being like, okay, this is definitely a junk removal company. As soon as you walked in, you saw a big pile of junk right there. It was nothing like we've evolved it to nowadays. But to be honest with you, I felt a warm embrace from especially Josh, along with Tyler, from the moment I walked in. I could tell Josh, I was dressed up. I had slacks on. I had a nice button-up shirt. Like I was looking the part because I was really, really hungry and wanted the job. And I felt the warmth and the embrace from Josh the minute I walked in. Like Josh treated it, for me, like an individualized approach. It was something special for him. Like I don't know if he almost knew, like, hey, this is a good opportunity. I know maybe on the resume it said something about Fort Scott, so we could connect through that. But I felt the warmth from him, knowing, okay, this is a pretty cool opportunity. It might not have looked like much at the time, but just the way he received me from walking in there meant everything to me, to the point where the environment or how it looked at the time didn't matter, because it wasn't like we have it now. When you walk in now, it's a beautiful thing in all of our locations, no matter where you're at in the United States. And, it was different back then, but still the juice was from this guy, Tyler, man, and what they brought every day. And that's the reason, to be honest with you, that I stayed past 2 months. I think I told you, hey, what I was doing at the time, and I had just anticipated having a job to get by for the next few months. But the time come for me, to make those decisions. All right, do you want to go and do something else? At the time I was coaching and substitute teaching at the time, getting all that done with school. And that was my goal. I was going to follow that career path. But eventually, just being around Josh, being around Tyler, the juice that they brought every single day, and just being around those guys, and like something was up there at the time, I'm like, man, I can't leave this. Like something special is going to happen. And I think it was Coach Sims brought it up in our engine meeting this morning. About 2 years into it, Heather at the time said, hey, this junk thing's cute and everything, but do we want to keep doing this? And I said, babe, I think if I left, it'd be the dumbest decision I ever made. And we still have a great conversation about that every once in a while when we're reminiscing, thinking back on good times that thankfully, I told her at that time, hey, that would be the biggest mistake, because looking back on it, man, I'm glad I didn't leave, because nothing but great things have followed ever since I joined.
Yeah, let me tell my version of the story, because this guy's so humble. He sends his resume in, it's like a first-round draft pick. I was so excited. I just didn't want to mess it up, right? So we were at that time attached. One part was a church and the other part was a warehouse. I wanted to impress him so much. I broke into the church. We had a lockbox. And I got into the church and we interviewed him inside the church, because I wanted him to see us put our best foot forward. That's right. And I really wanted to impress him.
That's right.
And fortunately for me, he didn't need all the flashy stuff, and he sees opportunity really well. And that's something that I think he does a great job at, is not just like, he sees things for what they can be, not always for what they are. Another thing that Aaron doesn't tell you about himself, he probably would never tell you about himself, he's one of the most selfless people I've ever been around. Early days, we were doing several different businesses, and none of them very well. And so what that meant is that if we had somebody not show up for moving, Aaron was a mover. Or if we had somebody not show up to clean carpet, Aaron cleaned carpet, because we knew we could count on him. Although his job was in junk removal at the time, and that was his role to help us operate and run that business, he was willing to do whatever it took for the business to continue to kind of progress. Did he love it? No, he didn't love it, but he did it without complaint and did it well. And everybody's always appreciated being around him, and we all get to just enjoy being in close proximity to Aaron. He's such a good person.
That's cool. I appreciate you sharing that, because I can remember showing up and I would always have an extra pair of khakis, beige khakis, and then the Easy Moves color. God, I forget the Easy Moves color at the time. I think they were similar to the OxyFresh.
They were.
So I would always have a change. Like I would have a locker room in the back seat of my car that had every uniform we had to have.
If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
That's right, man. Sugar Free said that. And Josh would come up, he'd say like, hey man, let's suit up. And I remember Josh teaching me how to clean a carpet in 2 hours at the shop, man. We went out there, and I don't think I upsold anything, but we damn sure got that person's carpet cleaned. And man, it was just where we made it happen, man. And it was fun at that time, because everybody, every single day, we were just trying to get after it. And thankfully over the years, we've learned from everything that we've done to make it more efficient and make it, such a better product that we can not only deliver for ourselves, but for our customers in the same time. And, it's been fun to share with a lot of people.
So you're a successful dude. You own several companies in this organization, and I don't know that was what you anticipated when you walked in.
Absolutely not.
But along the way, you became just really good at what LaDrew says, being easy to find. Mm-hmm. You were always available, always ready to do whatever was necessary in order for us to have success, and you always did it really, really well. What is it about? What was it that allowed you to have the foresight to understand that putting in that work was going to be worth it? Because let's be honest, there's a lot of people maybe listening here. They wonder if is the work that I'm doing, is it going to reap the rewards I'm looking for, or am I just wasting my time?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you know that you weren't wasting your time?
That's a great question. So the work part of it has never been difficult, right? I've been through much harder stuff physically, mentally, than what we deal with every single day. For me, it wasn't 1-800-GOT-JUNK. It was the belief that I had people that I looked up to, and you and Tyler, and this is God honest truth, that were headed somewhere great, man. I believe that if I was available and every opportunity that came available for me to hopefully get my name out there and for these guys to take notice of that was going to help me along the way. And I've been around, a lot of great men in my lives. Tom Hosack, starting with him, Coach Sims, who I knew at 17 years old, and I can name a few others, which I shared in my timeline in entrepreneurship class with everybody else. But you and Tyler are one of those. LaDrew, you as well, that just kind of, made it fun to go through the process as well. So learning, being open and receptive to feedback that you guys would give me constantly, and knowing that, every single day somebody's helping you grow, no matter what it is, personally, professionally. I would say you've got to feel like you're in the right spot if those two buckets are getting filled.
Hey, distill that message for the listeners here.
Yeah, I think it all goes back to who he is. Mm-hmm. And you said a selfless teammate. And when you're selfless, it allows you to see opportunities for what they truly are. So he's able to look through what you can see on the surface level. Current state of the office, current state of the organization, there's a current revenue point, and you're able to see what actually matters. Genuine connection, genuine care and intent, the way you make people feel. And through that, he was able to know that this is something worth attaching myself to for the long haul. And I think that makes him really, really special, which is the genuine interest that he has in others and into the mission being accomplished more so than what's in it for him, so that his motives aren't kind of boggled down with, I guess an impure motive behind it all. He's really focused on moving the thing forward and all people associated with it.
Yeah, so 12 years down the road, when you started, I think the total revenue in the system,
God, I remember
it was probably
$200,000 in a month.
Yeah, so it was probably like 1.3, maybe $1.4 million collectively. Now we're, well over $100 million this year. Mm-hmm. As we think about it, obviously it wasn't easy, and there was a lot of hard situations. There was a lot of moments where, it was tough out there. Even though you might have done something more challenging physically or mentally, there was physical and mental challenges along the way. And I remember, as you were developing as a leader in this organization, and you went from, being the best guy in the field to leading lots of people in the field. And I remember having, meetings with you, and we would have lots of conversations about, what's the next step and how do we continue to improve. When it was challenging, mentally or physically, what do you do? What do you do now? What did you do then that allowed you to overcome that adversity and power through it in the way that you did, that always had high integrity and was full of class and grace? What was it? How do you do that?
So that's a really, really good question. I think we've always surrounded ourselves with people that we like to work with, for one, and people that we could trust with more responsibilities. So when I think of the times that have gotten tough, I think of, in my head, Thomas Nunnick comes up Bryce and Tuggy come up, like all the guys that kind of weathered the storm with us when it was tough, right? And their own personal development or professional development during those times it's like, all right, adversity can do a lot of things to you, but ultimately you got to surround yourself with great people and focus on the solution and focus on the positive outcomes and just push towards that. I don't think we've ever been the types to surround ourselves with negative people,
Right.
because negative people don't work out here. Like at some point they're going to go off and they're going to be outed. So for me, you know, when the times got tough, I relied on other people, relied on you a whole hell of a lot. I'm sure I relied on LaDrew in many, many situations that we worked together. I relied on Nathan in a lot of situations right before, you know, sending out an email right before we came in here. But it's like when adversity shows, you got to rely on those around you. I rely on my wife at home. I rely on, you know, my father, Coach Sims. Like I have a lot of good relationships with a lot of great people over the years that I can always go back to if I were to meet any form of adversity or need any advice from anybody like that. And I know I have too, along with Tyler, man, so many good people here to rely on when I have a question or need, man, just a little bit of guidance. That's important.
Yeah.
So,
You know, Josh, you said something earlier. I know that everyone is always thinking about what they want out of life. And us getting what we want out of life has a lot to do with whether or not we're easy to find. And you have been, not just because you're tall, you've been really easy to find. All right? You've been really easy to find. So we like to give tactical things to our audience to apply to their lives. You know, what would you say is the key ingredient to being easy to find by the opportunities people want in life?
man, meet as many people as you can. Like, you know, walking around these halls, like, talk to people, introduce your people, build relationships with people. The more people you meet, the more people are going to help you find opportunities, right? Like life's a game of networking. I think when you gave me your list, hey, top 10 things that can make you professional, when we talked about it in an entrepreneurship class one time, relationships was number one on the list. And for me, that's one of the most special things you could have throughout your life is just building relationships with people, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing. You know, I enjoy walking around these halls every single day, seeing people that are doing the same mission we're all doing together, and getting to know those people and getting to know, you know, what they're all about, what makes them tick. Same thing over the MVP side, getting to know every single one of our people, understanding their personal and professional goals. We have an understanding of every single person on our staff's personal and professional goals, and that's going to allow us to help them get there, which in turn should fill our bucket, making sure that we're bringing people along with us on the ride.
I have a question. You know, Aaron currently operates one of our fastest growing organizations. 2019, we acquired a business. I was doing about $1.4 million at the time. Next year, we're slated to do close to $18 million, right? So warp speed type of growth, just lots of activity going on at MVP. You know, as you kind of reflect back, you know, what is it that makes a business successful from your perspective? And more so, not just successful, but be able to grow at the level that you can grow. What would be like the top 3 things that you would be able to kind of say, yeah, I think these are the 3 core components to not only success, but explosive growth?
Yeah. So for me, first and foremost, you know, I came from the truck, so it's boots on the ground in my mind. Like, I knew what I was trying to do on every single junk job. I knew the purpose and I knew my intended outcome, and that was delivered very well from whoever was looking over me at the time in the operational chair. If I have the alignment with the messaging that's to be delivered from the product or the service that we're trying to deliver, whether it's Move, whether it's Streamline, MVP, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, whatever we're putting our hands on, that's the differentiator for me. It's the people delivering the product. We made it cool to do junk removal back in the day, and now it's really cool. We made it cool to be a mover. Now it's very cool. We make everything we touch cool, and that means something for the people that are out there doing it every single day in front of the customers. Number 2, you know, what I would have to say is, you know, the vision. I think you have a very, very good skill in providing that vision. This is something, I'm an operational mind. So, you know, you said yesterday in a meeting, Strategy is taking it from visualization to actualization.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, the vision is what we need in order to keep pushing through and knowing that it's worth it in the long run, right? We're all chasing this vision and what we're trying to get to. So as long as we can have that, then we can develop the strategy. And I think this is something that we're becoming better in Southwind at. I don't think this has always been a strong suit of ours, and it's really, really cool to see us evolve over the years. Now we have essentially kind of a strategy for every single position that we have, every single operator in the business, whether it's an SOP from a different department that can help you find the solution that you're looking for, whether it's a strategy built in the form of OKR, like having the strategy to fulfill the visualization and execute it and make it actual, I think is number one thing in the book. So for me, the people doing it every single day we come in here is number one. Number two, having the vision. That might even be before that, right? They got to have the vision before they go out and do it. And then three, being able to supply the strategy, which I think is the tough thing sometimes, to make sure that everybody has a strategy and they're aligned and they know what the strategy is to deliver that on site with the customer while we grow into $1 billion business.
Well said. Well said. Well, Aaron, congratulations. And I can definitely say the best is still ahead for you, my man. So appreciate you. And thanks for joining us on Stoop.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for everything.
Yes, sir.
Get off the stoop.
Stoop Stories.